Please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, businessman, author, politician, master, campaigner, and American patriot, Donald Trump Jr. is here. Don Jr., how are you?
I'm doing great, guys. How are you?
Oh, man, we are so honored. Listen, we got your dad came and did a rally. The vice president was supposed to be here. Your brother was here. Now you're here. Jacksonville, you're really putting Jacksonville on the map. We almost had the national convention. So, thank you guys for coming in. Everyone here in Jacksonville really appreciates what you guys are doing.
Well, it's our pleasure. Again, we don't have the benefit of a mainstream media, that will do their campaigning for us, like Joe Biden, who gets to hide in his basement for weeks on end.
Yeah.
He can call a lid with 10 days left in an election. I mean, it's baffling.
It is
we
so
have
funny.
to be on the ground. We have to bring our message to the people. They have to make sure they hear about Donald Trump's accomplishments. And honestly, if you've been watching for the last 10 days, while they haven't put it up on social media because they're censoring the hell out of it because
Right.
they'll do anything they can to protect the Democrats, and mainstream media doing the same, Joe Biden's compromised. I mean, you now have a naval intelligence officer that was a Democrat that was partnered with Hunter Biden saying that, yeah, Joe Biden knew all about it. Of course he did. They were selling access to the vice presidency.
Yeah, plausible
we have a guy
deniability is
the
what they
most
call it now.
corrupted. Oh, it's crazy. I mean, plausible deniability. That means you can sell access to America. We just got to pretend like it didn't happen and we can get away with it. That's why, oh, yeah, it wasn't a meeting that was in the official calendar. It's like, oh, really? You didn't put a meeting that said I'm meeting with corrupt Ukrainian official that's going to pay Hunter $10 million and hold 10 for Joe? Like, give me a break.
What would you do?
So
What would you do
in front of the people?
Don Jr., what would you do if your dad came to you and said, hey, listen, I have this idea. I'm going to put you on Air Force One, fly you to China. You're going to come out with $2 billion and tell everyone you're investing it on their behalf. What do you think would happen to you guys?
Well, I know what would happen because they accused us of it.
Yeah.
They spent 3 years. I did 30 hours of testimony before the House and Senate. I had every congressman say I committed treason. Turns out it was all nonsense, but it didn't stop them from running with it for 4 years. Now you have hard drives. You have evidence. You have wire transfers. You have witnesses. You have tape recordings. Did anyone watch Tucker last night?
Yeah.
You have tape recordings of these guys trying to cover it up. I mean, there's 100,000 times more evidence than anything they used to launch the investigation on us. It's actually there. The smoking gun is there, but they're just trying to hide from it to get Joe over the finish line. But this kind of corruption can't happen in America. This is disgusting.
Yeah, we saw that. I mean, this is coming out now with, unfortunately, 70 million votes already cast a few days before Election Day. But I do see, people say, hey, this isn't the message that the president needs running into the end of the election. But the more this message gets out about Hunter Biden and especially about Joe Biden and his involvement, it seems like the polls are closing in. And it seems like more and more people are now Googling, hey, how can I change my vote? And I assume they're saying, how can I change it from Joe Biden to Donald Trump?
Yeah, I mean, I think after the debate, after all of this, I don't think anyone's flipping from Trump to Biden. I think it's all the other way around. But, that's why we just got to drive up the vote. People have to understand that they can't sit this out. When you've watched social media and big tech and everyone censor our freedom of speech over the last 10 days, I mean, that's on the table this election.
Yeah.
Our basic American freedoms and liberties are on the table.
Donald
said that a week ago.
Donald Trump Jr., he's in town at the Diamond D's Ranch later today for a big rally. One of the most exciting things, because it isn't just the president, it isn't just your father, but you, your brother Eric, we spoke with him last week, your sister Melania, everybody goes out, the whole family, and draws these massive crowds, thousands and thousands of people. So it's much more than just your father. I mean, this is Trumpism. This is really a whole movement of Americans that are kind of searching for the same thing. Or what do you describe, like when you go to these rallies, what do you think it is drawing everyone in?
I think they're just excited to have someone who's fighting for them for a change. Not your typical politician. You saw that in the debate last week. Joe Biden, they asked him a question about China, and he starts talking about, but it's really about being able to sit around a dinner table. And I'm like, what? Like, typical politician. He read some speech that some intern wrote for him. Totally avoid the question. Don't have any accountability. No, all talk, no action.
Yeah.
So I think people are just excited to have someone who's willing to fight for them, to fight for their rights, to fight for their freedoms, to fight for their families and for their children. And you have that in Donald Trump. I mean, it's that fighting spirit that he has. That's why he's getting things done. It's why we're getting peace deals done in the Middle East. It's why we're pulling out of the endless wars. Despite the Pentagon want to stay in them because, they can get their board seat at Raytheon one day. he's willing to take on the establishment. Even as president, Donald Trump's running as the outsider candidate.
Yeah, I see. And I talk to my wife all the time and my kids. I show them the rallies every day on YouTube. I'm like, look, this is the third rally today. You know, there's 5 more tomorrow. There's 5 more the next day. And like you said, you don't have the benefit of the media getting your message out there. So you guys have to do it on your own. What is it with these? I mean, why do you feel people believe these polls or keep putting these polls out there when clearly you can see the evidence every single day that there is support, not just among Republicans, but 20% of your audience is Democrats. 16% are people who've never voted. How do these polls, stay afloat?
Yeah, they shouldn't. They haven't been right in a long time. I think they're honestly, at this point, I think they're designed just to suppress the vote, to make it think, oh, yeah, Joe Biden's got this. Don't bother showing up. Don't go vote. No worries, nothing to see here. I think they're nonsense. I see that on the ground myself. 1,000 people are showing up at a rally in the middle of the day to hear me speak.
Yeah.
I'm not. There's an energy and an enthusiasm there that you couldn't buy in politics. So it feels really good to me.
Now, we talked to, the whole thing, the other thing that people don't realize with Hunter Biden and this corruption is it's not just him. If Donald Trump, for whatever reason, doesn't win re-election, that story gets buried. But they're not the only criminals in Washington, D.C. that need to be brought to justice. I mean, this is the swamp. This is a perpetual problem that your father's trying to root out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look at the FBI. They had the laptop for a year.
Yeah.
They allowed that to happen. They allowed the Democrats to impeach Donald Trump for being right about Joe Biden.
Yeah.
They had it.
No,
they knew. They let it happen anyway because they figured, hey, if we could get rid of him, this will never come to light. These guys have been running cover for the Bidens and their crimes for years.
Yeah.
And for probably others and the other people in the deep state and all of that stuff. Those people have to be held accountable too. They try to coup. And they'll get away with it, too. You think Joe Biden's going to crack down on corruption? It's going to get 100 times worse.
No, I know.
America's open for business, corrupt business. If this guy wins, just look at his history.
Well, having Amy Coney Barrett on the Supreme Court now is huge. Your father also speaks a lot about how, we're going to win the House and we're going to win the Senate. The Senate, I feel, is pretty safe. The House, do you think that's plausible, speaking of plausible stuff?
I do. Actually, I probably feel better about the House than anything. I think there's a lot of opportunity. I think people have watched. Look at what's going on in Philadelphia right now.
Yeah,
they're
that's
rioting,
true.
the looting, the Democrat mayors and the Democrat governors. They don't want to do anything. They don't want to, hurt the feelings of Joe Biden voters that are burning down Philadelphia. I mean, this stuff has to stop.
Yeah.
This is all happening. Notice it's all Democrat cities with Democrat governors and Democrat mayors and Democrat city councils, Democrat control for decades. This stuff doesn't work.
Yeah.
It hasn't worked. The Democrats are a failed party, and what they used to represent was a noble thing, but they don't represent hardworking men and women anymore. The Democrat Party has forgotten all about that.
Oh, on the contrary, they're turning away from
Democrat Party anymore.
Yeah, they're defunding the police. They're attacking our heroes. It's really, it is a far cry from the Democrats that used to be in control. The JFKs and that kind of thing. All right, so we're in the closing days of the campaign, and I know you're super busy. You're going out, I imagine, every single day between now and Election Day. What's the big message? What's going to drive this home? What's going to get everyone into the polls to vote Donald Trump on Tuesday?
Accomplishment. Look at what he's done. Name a single Joe Biden accomplishment. And if you can, fine. But I bet you can't. And if you can't name one after half a century, 47 years as a swamp creature, besides making his son really rich and dealing with corrupt regimes,
right?
Isn't that part of the problem? Isn't that what we voted against? Donald Trump created the strongest economy we've ever seen. Donald Trump created the lowest levels of unemployment we've ever seen. Donald Trump is getting peace deals done in the Middle East.
Yeah.
He's pulling us out of the endless wars. He's tanking on the consumer, the big drug companies and big pharma to lower prescription drug pricing for Americans. He's willing to take on the biggest lobbyists in D.C. to do what's right for the American people. Joe Biden's been bought and paid for by every corrupt regime in the world at this point, it seems. And if the media took 2% of the time that they spent trying to, railroad us and looked at the Bidens, they wouldn't be running the most corrupted candidate in the history of the U.S. presidency.
Yeah, and you're right. African Americans, Latinos, women, everybody benefits more under Donald Trump in 3.5 years than they have under Joe Biden in 47. Have you voted yet? Did you early vote like your dad, or are you waiting till Election Day?
I did, yeah, just because I'm too busy.
Yeah.
I've been running around, campaigning. I'm hitting 4 or 5 states a day, 3, 4 stops, 5 stops sometimes, in a state. Like, it's pretty brutal. So I just wanted to get that out of the way early and just hit the road hard.
Yeah, when you go to vote, by the way, I've always been curious, and you see Donald Trump there on the ballot, are you ever tempted to just write in Junior at the end of it and see what happens?
Not really.
No, okay. You're like,